It says, beware what is driving you as a coach. I need to help. I want to help. I'm available to help. And that was where my light bulb went on. And that realization there for me was, oh my God, what's driving me? And actually my drive was, I need to help. I want to help. It was this overwhelming need to kind of fix and support. But it was for the wrong reasons. I've learned that it was for the wrong reasons. And what I've found out through my further reading and work on my self-awareness is that actually I ended up uncovering the rescuer syndrome or white knight syndrome. And it was actually things that was deep rooted in my childhood.
Welcome to Leadership, the Secret Sauce, the podcast where we talk to extraordinary coaches and leaders to dive into the realms of leadership and coaching. We're your hosts, Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson. So let's jump in with another guest and find out their answer to the question, what is your secret sauce? Before we begin, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Character Matters Coaching and Consulting, where they believe your character is the compass guiding you through life's journey. Whether you're facing personal or professional challenges, they are dedicated to helping you discover and strengthen the core values that define who you are. Hey, Dave, who do we have on the show today?
I am very excited to welcome my friend and colleague, Helen Dann. Hello, Helen. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. I am so excited to be talking to you. We've known each other for a number of years, traveled together, did a lot of work together. I am so excited to bring you into like another part of my life, which has developed with Matt over the last couple of years. But really what we have done is we were talking and we said, how do we hang out with really good coaches more? And we said, oh, how about if we create a podcast? So the purpose of this podcast is to hang out with good, cool coaches. So I'm excited to have you on, and we'll do more intros in a moment, but we like to start off with an energy level check. So on a scale from 1 to 10, what is your energy level at the present moment?
I'm sitting at about a 7. It's been a week, so I'm teetering on a 7. I'm trying to channel all the energy.
Yeah. No, hey, listen, a long week. We're on the downhill side. So I appreciate your 7. And Matt, whereabouts are you this fine morning?
Well, I'm at 8.5. Yeah.
8.5.
Easily.
Nice.
It could be more, but I'm trying to even out my highs and lows.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I feel like my role today is balance. So I'm going to go with 8, right?
Okay.
So I just, I don't want to, I'm just feeling it. No explanation. I think I actually did get sleep last night after a bunch of long days. So it was good. Sleep is good. So with that, Helen, let's say you're traveling someplace in Europe and somebody on the really efficient fast train leans over to you and says, oh, hi, what do you do? How do you describe it?
I try to keep it as simple as possible because it really isn't always here. I am head of talent development for Europe. So I support subsidiaries across our Europe region and work very closely with them and their people teams, and also our headquarter over in Korea.
Very cool. And if they ask you about like your coaching, what do you say about your coaching?
My coaching is interesting. It's fun. It's here, there, and everywhere because I'm trying to embed it in lots of different places in the business. But I try to do it as much as I can.
Very awesome. We're gonna talk a little more about what that looks like when you're doing that and what clients experience. So I'm gonna turn it over to Matt. Matt,
Helen, one of the questions that we want to ask is our biggest question is, what is your secret sauce? If you had to describe that, what would that be?
Okay, I had a little bit of a think on this, and the secret sauce for me is really around my continued work around my self-development as a coach, and thinking about and continue to work on my motives for actually being a coach in the
Mm.
first place. This has been a huge development area for me over the past few years for a number of different reasons. And through this work, it's allowed me to build on my confidence levels and also my skill, and it then becoming my secret sauce. Because actually, what it's done is it's built my confidence as a coach, self confidence, and actually in the room with my clients. And I've actually seen better results with clients as a result of this. So, yeah, for me, it's a critical, basic, foundational coaching skill.
How did you know it was your secret sauce? Like what? Like
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with the whole idea around like I don't know, the expression like you can't give away something you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And but how did you know like that was your secret sauce?
So I only really had awareness around this and really kind of thinking back to that becoming my secret sauce back in 2020. I joined a virtual training to put me on the road of obtaining my ACC with the International Coaching Federation. And there was some work around the basics of who you are as a coach. So kind of holding up the mirror. And for me, they were asking us to reflect on why are you a coach? Why are you interested in coaching? And I've always wanted to help people. It's been something that's ingrained in me for years. When I first went into the corporate world, I knew that was something I wanted to do. I started in a customer service role, which then turned into training type roles, which has eventually turned into the roles that I'm in now. And I found that I had an overwhelming desire to fix people, to make them happy, to solve their problems, to give them knowledge. And there was something that they said in this training, which is a quote from someone called Alison Hardingham from 2004. And the phrase, I've written it down here because I always forget the exact wording. It says, beware what is driving you as a coach. I need to help. I want to help. I'm available to help. And that was where my light bulb went on. And that realization there for me was, oh my God, what's driving me? And actually, my drive was, I need to help. I want to help. It was this overwhelming need to kind of fix and support. But it was for the wrong reasons. I've learned that it was for the wrong reasons. And what I've found out through my further reading and work on my self-awareness is that actually I ended up uncovering the rescuer syndrome or white knight syndrome. And it was actually things that was deep rooted in my childhood. And it was a disproportionate need to be wanted, to be liked, to be valued, to feel comfortable that I'm worth something to others. And that was actually a deep rooted need that was linked back to my childhood, which I know now. But I've only known that because of the dive that I took into it as a result of this coaching training. But then for my postgraduate certificate recently, I wrote about self-awareness as one of my essays. So my reading took a deeper level and I uncovered things more about myself, about how I think, how I feel, how I act, that was linked around this self-belief. And I realized that initially I was driving myself as a coach because I was like, it's my role to fix. I'm in L&D. It's my role to help them figure out the problem. But what I was doing was that I was figuring it out for them because I needed to feel a value. And so that impacted the quality of my coaching. I can see that now. I was good, but I wasn't as good as I could have been because I had the wrong reasons associated with being a coach at that time. So yeah, the past 4 years have been uncovering and getting to know that secret sauce, and my coaching has gone to a whole new level as a result of that.
What a wonderful journey. And I am fascinated because the like that the reason often we get into coaching, like people start off get into coaching, is very much like what you described. And then the journey to actually becoming a good coach is being able to surrender, let go of that, and embrace something else.
Mm.
What is it that you had? What did you let go of, and what did you embrace?
So it came back to that phrase, actually. I want to help, I need to help, I'm available to help. And I took a look at what availability meant as a coach and how that related to me. So I thought about my role in learning and development as a leader, as a coach, and I really examined, how can I show up? How can I be available? But how can I not put that responsibility on me to solve everything, to hold everyone's monkeys, the backpack full of rocks or monkeys, because I naturally was absorbing everything. And it would be a kind of, go to Helen, she'll fix you kind of mantra that
Mm.
was then used in the businesses that I was working in. And for me at that time, I loved that. I needed that because that gave me a sense of purpose, a sense of well-being. And I would see people come in kind of hunched over. We'd have a session. And by the time they're finished, they'd be swinging in the chair. They'd be walking out and it'd be, Helen, fix me. And I would feel great. And they would have some good performance. But it was short-lived. I was leading them to certain solutions. I wasn't holding them to account. I was, kind of taking things on and almost being like a guide for them, really, rather than a coach as such. And I was needing and wanting to help, but I wasn't being available. I wasn't holding the space for them to explore and be accountable, which is what I do now.
Yeah, I think from a coachee standpoint, like what would I experience if you coached me a couple years ago, and what would I experience now?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. I think, first of all, there wouldn't have been any strong contracting about the roles in the coaching relationship. It was very blurred. There was no delineation between my role and their role. I was there to fix, basically, was how it was seen by all parties. So there would be no clarity there. The goal wouldn't have been clear at all. It would have just been, I need to help you perform better, for example. There was no specifics associated with it. And then you would have experienced a bit of advice giving, a lot, almost too much empathy, even going into that sympathy, the sharing of, yeah, I've been there too, and this is how I did it. So it really would have gone into more of a kind of two-way guiding, mentoring almost conversation, with some questions thrown in, and some might have been brilliant, but they were lost in the guiding aspect of it. So what you would have done is you would have walked out of that room thinking, I'm fixed, great, I can go do these things. But you may have only seen a short-term lift because you didn't own anything. There was no accountability on you. It was what Helen's guided me to do.
Mm. It kind of puts yourself in a really, I don't use the word inappropriate, but a really like an authority role that really doesn't help the client really succeed on their own. All of a sudden, they need Helen
Yeah.
rather than, and so I don't know. It kind of puts you in an indispensable place, and
Yeah.
I think that may be an unintended consequence of trying to be helpful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed completely. Yeah.
Helen. So you have a coach now. What would you want? What would you want from that coach? And like, how would you know? Like, oh, I see it in that coach. Like, not yeah. What would you want instead of that?
Yeah, so I've had some coaching. I actively seek it where I need it, where I need that space to think, and that's one of the key things that I ask for from someone that coaches me is just hold the space, whether it be for me to rant, to cry, to talk a load of rubbish, just be there. Just be someone either next to me or on that virtual call, but have safety associated with it, where I don't feel judged, where I can be me in all its weirdness that sometimes comes out, and to know that I'm not going to be laughed at or have an eye roll, or you shouldn't have done it that way, you could have done better. You know, it's that no judgment, that unconditional positive regard that Carl Rogers speaks about, which I use so often. I need that safety. I need that safe space. And again, that's deep rooted in the childhood, where there was a lot of judgment. There was a lot of, why wasn't it an A rather than a B in terms of your scores, you know, things like that. And so I need that safety. But what I've learned to be comfortable with as I've grown in confidence is be comfortable with challenge. So I now ask whoever coaches me to hold that space, but I also ask them to challenge me. Depending on the topic that I'm bringing to the session, I will ask for that challenge, because I can get quite stuck in, but I can't, but it's always been this way, but they won't do this. So I want someone to call me out if they see something that needs addressing. I wouldn't have been able to do that even 4 years ago, like I was saying, when I've had some of this light bulb moment, because I didn't believe in my abilities enough. I had very little self-confidence, which is bizarre if you're working in an L&D role and you're on your feet. And I've got a performing arts background. It's crazy to think that, but I didn't believe I was worth anything. So challenging for me I would see it as a criticism of my capabilities. Whereas now I'm like, challenge me, you know, make me think about what I'm doing, because I'm okay to explore other things. And then the final thing, which David will get, is humor. We don't laugh enough. We do not laugh enough. I haven't laughed enough over the years. And so I'm learning to embrace fun and humor, even in a coaching situation, whether I'm the coach, whether I'm the client. Sometimes you just need to giggle. And that is probably the thing that just adds that element of human softness to it, is knowing, laugh at yourself or laugh together and everything will be fine.
I so appreciate that, Helen. And I am like, the humor always captures me. I'm so interested. The thing that I'm always challenged with is, where do you place that voice of judgment, and so that you can coach and be present for your client? Like, what do you do with that?
Yeah, it's a good comment, actually. So I have learned to, because I'm always busy with stuff, and I've always thought I was good with time management, but I'm really not. So what I've been learning to do as part of this work on self-awareness and being ready and believing in myself and being able to be the best coach I can be, is I'm starting to give myself more time before and after coaching. So a bit of time to reflect, a bit of time to look at some notes if I've got some notes to look back at, and then a bit of time to digest and reflect on the session afterwards. And rather than going from one thing to another. And that then is allowing me to think about things like, what are you here for? Who are you here for? How are you going to be available to help? So bringing back that phrase in. And, you know, almost reminding myself that, Helen, you've got this. You're here for a reason. They've asked you to help them as their coach for a reason. So go in and do what people believe you can do and what you know you can do. And I never would have done that years ago. Honestly, that I would have been holding up the mirror and I wouldn't even look at my own eyes in the mirror. That's how little I thought of myself. I would look in the mirror to do my hair, but never in my own eyes. Whereas now I can look and I can say, hi. So, and that's huge for me.
That reminds me of one of the training exercises that we use is to actually stand across from a coach trainee and stare in the eyes of your counterpart for a couple of minutes. And it typically freaks people out, right? Yeah. And you try that with some non-coaches, like leaders as coaches, and they just like, it's too much. It's over the top. But I think it's actually, it exposes, I think, some like an insecurity in our own heart when someone's really looking into our eyes rather than just sort of like around the periphery, right? They're like gazing into our soul. Yeah. And we're just wondering like, hey, is there something there? Yeah. Helen, what three resources would you recommend that someone read, listen to, watch? What do you recommend?
So I'm going with some things that helped me on my journey. I thought, why not link it to what I've spoken about? So one book that I found incredibly useful is the book by Marcia Reynolds, Coach the Person, Not the Problem, which really helped me step away from trying to fix. It allowed me to kind of really look at who's in front of me and how can I support them, and not having to go and let me solve everything for you. The article, the research paper that I used, which uncovered the white knight and rescuer syndrome for me, is by Manfred Katz de Vries, The Leadership, Coaching and Rescuer Syndrome, How to Manage Both Sides of the Couch, from INSEAD Business School. I mean, that was like game changer for me. And then a recent book I've read, which was actually published by a friend of mine, is The Human Behind the Coach, by Claire Pedrick and Lucia Baldelli. Brilliant reads, all three of them. I would highly recommend.
Really good. A lot of those are, Marcia Reynolds is fantastic as a coach, and really insightful. Dave, what's your reflection on what Helen shared?
My reflection is, over the last few years of knowing Helen, you are like 83% more present. And I don't know why I picked that number, but I think and I'll explain this. And I'm fascinated because I have so many questions about what you shared. And we've all had internal roles where our job is to really look as busy as possible, and just move. And I think over the years, like, we master that at the expense of being present, I think. Right. And I wanted to say, like, the importance that you emphasize. And then the other piece is, like, unlocking, especially that second article you said about both sides of the couch. I can't wait to, like, dive into that, because I've been looking for things to help coaches explain that. And I haven't, like, I feel like I talk around the periphery of it, but I haven't nailed it yet. So thank you for sharing that. And I so appreciate you being here. I feel so connected and so happy to be talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Yeah. I think, I think sometimes we miss it, like, in the structure of trying to figure out how to coach. Like, there's the old expression, the best coach is a good coachee. Like, hey, I have to be willing to try these things. And I think that's what I got, is like, I don't have to actually it's not my role as a coach to fix the coachee, or even solve their problems, or even give a positive affirmation to what they're saying. Oh yeah, that sounds great. And I think that is just a great reminder, is when I'm doing that, I'm placing a judgment on whatever they've said. And they're like, oh, great, Matt likes that. That, I don't know if that's actually really helpful to the coachee, versus, I heard you say that. And that is more powerful. They can hear back what they said, rather than to either give them an attaboy or an attagirl, like, hey, your coach likes you. Like, I think that's put me at a place that I don't want to be as a coach, because then it's not for their development. It's for, the cheering on of their paid cheerleader. And I think that misses it. I think that was the biggest takeaway. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dave, what else do we have?
Helen, any reflections on, as you thought about coming into the podcast and talking with us, and now going through it?
It was really interesting, actually, because to your point, David, that you raised, we are busy a lot of the time. And one thing that we do find difficult to do is take time to reflect and take time for ourselves. And the beauty of you asking me to be on this podcast is that it made me take that time, because I wanted to do it for me and to for you guys, and I wanted to do it in the right way. So I really enjoyed taking some time in preparation, making some notes. I looked up at my bookshelf that's up above me here, like, what out of these books do I think might be ones to recommend? So for me, it was a joy because it encouraged me to do some of the best practice that I encourage others to do. Again, it's that holding up the mirror, right? And one phrase that I use a lot for many things is do the basics brilliantly. And for me, one of the things that I've been learning as a coach is about the basics. And I've learned that it's okay to take time for yourself, that it's not a selfish thing to do, and that is a basic need. It's a basic thing to do, and it's okay, and it's important to take time for that self-reflection. And as a coach, it is a basic skill of being a great coach, is knowing who you are and what you're there to do.
Helen, how would someone get a hold of you if they were listening to this podcast and they just wanted to reach out? How would they connect with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best way. That's my main businessy kind of way of getting in touch, really. So grab me there.
Okay.
All right. I want to shout out, give a last closing thank you to our sponsor. Are you feeling stuck or overwhelmed? Character Matters Coaching and Consulting provides leadership consulting to empower you to overcome obstacles and reach your full potential. Visit charactermatters.com to learn more about the transformative coaching and how to get connected to Matt for your organization. Thank you.
Thanks again, Helen. Until next time.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Happy holidays. Thanks for listening. If you love this podcast, please share it with another coach or leader. Make sure you go to the show notes to get all the resources from today's episode.